Sanje Chodan Soje Chonam La Chanchu Parado Dane Jamsu Che Dage Jinso Jibe Sanam Che Rola Penchir Jindro Bar Sho Sanje Chodan Soje Chonam La Chanju Bardo Dane Jamsu Chi Dage Jinsu Jibe Sunam Chi Drola Benchra Sanje Drobar Sho Sanje Chodan Soje Chonam La Chanju Bardo Dane Jamsu Chi Dage Jinsu Jibe Sunam Chi Drola Penchra Sanje Drobar Sho Simje Tamje Dewa Tam Devi Jodan Dembar Churchi Dongara Tan Dongara Che Jodan Trawar Churchi Dongara Mebe Dewa Tamba Tam Mendra War Churchi Niren Chadan Tan Charve Tanyam Chambola Nebar Churchi Semche Tamche Dewa Tan Deve Jodan Dembar Churchi Dongara Tan Dongara Che Jodan Chawar Churchi Dongara Mebe Dewa Tamba Tam Mendra War Churchi Nyeren Chadan Tan Charve Tanyom Chambola Nebar Churchi Semchen Tamchi Dewa Tan Devi Jodan Dembar Churchi Dongara Tan Dongara Che Jodan Chawar Churchi Dongara Mebe Dewa Tamba Tam Mindra War Churchi Nyeren Chadan Tan Charve Tanyom Chambola Nebar Churchi Jom Den Den Jambe Yang Lai Chan Tsai Loi Kange Lo Dre Rim Nye Dendra Nye Dara Nam Dai Ram Sarve Chinye Tungun Chi Jin Si Chir Ni Che Tokara Le Bam Tse Kanda Si Be Tsara Ma Ri Muntuma Dongara Che Serve Rozo Gun La Puji Tar Se Yan La Chu Chu Yang Den Son Chu Tar Che Ro Nyomo Ni Long Le Che Cha Ro Ro Tse Che Mari Musar Dongara Nyugu Chinye Chunze Raja Nam Dene Ta Chen Sa Chu Tar Sun Yun Tene Lu So Gyar Se Tu Yu Jordan Juni Jendre Da Lu Musar Jambe Yang La Du Tse Den Chu Je Chen Ra Usir Da Lu Demo Mumba Rabsane Kata Tenchu Shun Lu To Bai Lo Dre Bobe Nangwa Tsar Tu Sor
Good morning. We are going to try to continue with the study of the Arya It is the King of Aspiration prayers in the English translation. As a reminder, this text, which is a practice of aspiration, we will briefly get into this point, but to situate the text, to put it into context, it is a sutra from the Great Vehicle, the Avatamsaka, and there is one chapter that is included in the Avatamsaka, which is the last chapter, which is the Ganda Vyuha, and this text is extracted from the Ganda Vyuha. And so here, there is a narrative, a person named Sudana, who goes towards a certain number of masters, and he is going to meet 53 masters. And at the end of this, he arrives in front of Samantabhadra Buddha, who introduces him to this practice. So let's look at the title of the text. In the Tibetan tradition, coming from the Indian tradition, the Indian title is always presented first to show the origin. Arya. There is the title in Sanskrit first. The King of Aspiration prayers. The aspiration prayers of Samantabhadra. In Sanskrit, the title is Arya Bhadracharya Pranidhana Raja. I would invite you to look at this without getting attached to it. Dong Sangpo Bhadra Chupa Charya. The term Charya designates practice, conduct. Here it's been translated as action, but it can also be translated as conduct, practice. It is linked to the of accomplishing something. And the adjective that qualifies this action is Sangbo Bhadra. The Sanskrit term Bhadra there is a convention that was established in the 9th century. So we have lists of Sanskrit terms and their equivalents in Tibetan, which were adopted. And so we have precise equivalencies of the terms between Sanskrit and Tibetan. It is more difficult with the translations into French and English because we have such a variety of choices. But here there are conventions from Sanskrit to Tibetan. Donc, so Sangpo, which means something that is good in terms of benefit. The term Bhadra also has this meaning, something that is splendid, luminous, beneficial, good. And as the Sanskrit has a Indo-European origin, we can find a common origin with other Indo-European languages like French. So I think in French it would be, or in English, sorry, it would be something like good, something good. Those terms would be linked to this term Bhadra. So it is to be seen here in terms of excellent conduct or excellent practice. Excellence here means of great goodness. It could be gracious. So Zangpo fundamentally means something that is fundamentally beneficial, excellent, good. And then you have the term pranidhana. And it's been translated as aspiration. So the King of Aspiration prayers, the aspiration to beneficial actions of Samantabadhra. It's not exactly literal, but so Arya Bhadra Charya Pranidhana Raja. This means the for Pranidhana, as we consider this an aspiration prayer, the King of Aspiration prayers of excellent conduct. And the term Arya can be translated into French sometimes as noble. So we can look at the overall meaning of this practice, starting with the title. So let's look at the term, let's focus on the term pranidhana, munlam in Tibetan. So there are several points here. There are a group of terms which are associated with this, and it's important to understand the essence of these different terms. They are linked to volition, to motivation, to intention. For example, you have the term cetana, sempa, cetana in Sanskrit. It is one of the omnipresent mental factors. It is a kind of like strength or power or a volitional force that is present at every instant of consciousness. So commonly, it is linked to ego. Every moment of consciousness that grasps duality, which is confusion, includes this volitional aspect, which is for oneself. So we always position ourselves in our own experience, in our own perception for ourselves, generally. So when we use this term cetana or sempa, it is this impulse, this disposition, this volitional disposition that is present at every moment. And so it is linked to ignorance, to self-grasping, self-clinging, which is at the base of ordinary karmic activity. It is for oneself, we cultivate, we express afflictions and accomplish acts or actions. So it is what leads us to the production of karma and of becoming. So we could contrast this, or we could we could put this in contrast with the term depa in Tibetan, shraddha in Sanskrit. Depa, sometimes it's translated as confidence or faith. In the Buddhist context, it is something that can be confused with the belief, faith, but it should be distinguished from the common understanding of this word, especially in the religious context of the West. So here, depa is above all confidence. The Sanskrit term shraddha, etymologically, means the heart and the confidence. So it is to place one's confidence. That is what it means above all, before all, with this term faith, shraddha, depa. Place one's confidence. So how do Buddhist texts define it? It's defined by a certain clarity, awareness. Here it is being able to discern partially, to be able to partially discern reality, to be able to catch a glimpse of what is effectively good for oneself, and effectively beneficial, and to have confidence in this. So here we speak, for example, in Tibetan, Dupe tepa yiche tepa. The first form is the aspect of discernment. These are the different forms of confidence. To give a concrete example, you can look in your own story, in your own life. What led you to Dharma? What gave rise in yourself to the intention of making a commitment to the Dharma, to being here today, to making the effort to come here today? What led to this? What was the commitment that led to this? There are many different answers to this, according to different people. Maybe you heard the teachings of the Buddha. Maybe you met other practitioners or masters who inspired you. So sometimes we're also here for the wrong reasons. So we should ask ourselves this. Is it really depa that led us here? But in any case, the right reason is that you caught a glimpse of the truth of what is effectively good. There was this confidence that was born when you came into contact with the teachings and the Buddha's accomplished disciples, and this led to a certain awareness in terms of what is good for me to develop. How can I truly find what is beneficial for me? So it is a certain awareness with regards to reality, and that brings us confidence in the teachings of the Dharma. So at this level, we could simply say it's an intuitive level. It might not be clearly defined, but we are inclined to this confidence because we see something that is beneficial in terms of it's right, it's authentic, and continuing our analysis of the Buddha's teaching, this confidence grows. And so there's three forms of depa, of confidence. Shraddha. Tangwe depa is the first form of confidence. It is the aspect of awareness. It is devotion. It is to when we turn towards Dharma, the mind gains a certain lucidity, awareness. It can be in terms of seeing something true, real, in terms of the Dharma. For example, seeing the Buddha or meeting exceptional masters, just seeing them, there's a confidence that arises. It can be linked to that. And on this basis, on the basis of listening and reflecting on the teachings, we will acquire an understanding, and we will examine this understanding, and then we develop a type of conviction, a certitude, pertinence, just. And this is Ichipe Depa. It's the second form of confidence. We are convinced, we accept the link between our thoughts, the causality between our thoughts and what we become. In other words, the law of karma. So what we've seen in the previous days on the dependent origination, the 12 links of dependent origination, how our actions, our thoughts determine our suffering, and we've understood this meaning, and we truly follow this. We adopt it. We agree that reality works this way. So it's not just it's not a blind faith. I believe in karma even if I don't understand. It's really understanding the meaning, and this meaning and this confidence will grow. And the more we examine, it's not something that stands in contrast to analytical analysis. For example, in theistic religions in the West, reason is opposed to faith. Faith cannot be explained by reason. You just have to follow. Here, there is not a dichotomy between reason, analysis, examination, and that on which we must, it is that on which we must, this must support us. We must lean on this. If we don't lean on examination, analysis, and we just have an idea, then any idea could have this value. How do we sort all that? How do we sort through all these ideas and conceptions to determine the one that is really beneficial and the one that is not? We have to lean on our, or rely on, we have to rely on our capacity for analysis. And this capacity for analysis relies at once on perception and inference. So we infer, and this can include reasoning. But what is the most important, or what is predominant, is observation, direct observation. So, for example, if the afflictions, hatred is something negative, I don't reach this conclusion simply based on reasoning. I can directly observe it. And in my life, I can observe it. And so I can know that no matter what the reason is, the logic for hatred in many religions and traditions and cultures in the world, everyone understands hatred, that hatred and violence is something negative, bad, but sometimes you have to resort to it. When it concerns our religion, when it concerns our culture, we must cultivate, we must resort to violence. It is said. So here, if we understand the law of causality between our thoughts and our becoming, we see that hatred by nature is negative, bad, harmful. And if we uphold it, no matter what happens, the consequence will be harmful, painful, difficult. So nothing there is no reasoning that would make something that by nature is negative to become something positive. So there are a lot of discussions on these sorts of things, I imagine, but that is Depa. Confidence with regards to the teaching of Dharma, and in particular on causality. And it's interesting here for beginning practitioners is what is put forward is not to have confidence in the absence of self. Because non-self or absence of self is quite subtle. We can have a mistaken understanding of it. It can be interpreted as a kind of annihilationist conception. That actually I don't exist, I am nothing, and if I am nothing, why should I make an effort to have an ethical conduct? Because if I'm nothing, one of the criticisms of the annihilationist view is that it it prevents one from having an ethical discipline. And so if we were trying to make a hierarchy of mistaken views, we would start with the annihilationist view. At least with eternalist view, because there's a belief in life after death, there is a concern for adopting an ethical conduct. Maybe this ethical conduct is mistaken or erroneous, and in some religions, what is ethical is to kill or to sacrifice animals, but in others you have to be charitable, good, and all these behaviors are beneficial and beautiful. And we commit ourselves to them because of the benefits we can obtain in a future life beyond this one. So in the annihilationist view, no matter what we do, there is no consequence, because as I'm destined to become nothing. I'm just an epiphenomena produced by this body that came without appeared without reason, by chance, by physical sequence. And so what I call consciousness, or what we perceive, is kind of an epiphenomena. It came from nothing. It's going to just and so today I killed and created harm, and that's only, or did harm. This only has an impact on my life today, maybe on my social position, but whether I cultivate hatred or desire attachment, it has absolutely no effect on beyond this immediate life. That is the annihilationist view. So you see here that confidence in the teaching of Dharma is very important, is to discern this, to discern causality. It is a very pragmatic aspect of practice. In a first stage, meditating, having discernment, it's very we have to be able to reach this, and it's necessary to free ourselves from suffering. But concretely, every day, on a daily basis, we have to reduce the part of of suffering, and increase the share of well-being, and we kind of want all of this. And so, on a daily basis, we tend to cultivate mental states, conduct that is by nature negative and makes our life more painful, and sets us up for unfortunate rebirths, and then we'll never have the opportunity to practice meditation. So the foundation of practice is really ethical discipline. What is ethical discipline? In essence, it is not to harm, not to do anything harmful to self or others. So we have two aspects here. So there are two aspects of ethical discipline. One aspect is the restrictive aspect. Behind us, what we try not to do in order not to fall back. And then there's another aspect in terms of the qualities that we wish to develop, which is ahead of us, what we aspire towards, what is ahead of us. And as these aspirations are in connection, in relation with this, it is the positive aspect of ethical conduct. What I aspire toward, what I aspire towards, where the direction I wish to go in. So it is is to prevent negative conduct and to develop qualities depends first and foremost on this confidence, this discernment that we spoke about. Shraddha. And in particular, with regards to confidence, so there are three types of confidence. First, that is kind of an admiration or lucidity and awareness. We have an appreciation, a certain clarity, and when we deepen that through understanding. We have we through our thanks to our observation, our direct observation of the teaching, this gives birth dupetepa. It gives birth to that. It is to want. What do we want? We want the qualities. It is the aspect of will linked to devotion. This lucidity leads us to have a will to pursue the practice, to apply the practice. So I presented Sempa as being this volition that inhabits us at every instant, and that is oriented towards the preservation of self. And then there is the discernment, discerning what is beneficial or not. And so the more our observation of the teaching becomes precise, the more this confidence increases. This confidence becomes unshakable, indestructible, as our wisdom develops. Then there's another term, Sampa, Ashaya in Sanskrit. It is to formulate a more explicit intention. So this is when there is this confidence, the orientation, the direction of the idea of wanting becomes more precise by formulating an intention. In Tibetan, there is another term, kunhong. It is to mobilize one's intention. For example, before practicing, before studying, it is important for us to turn ourselves inwardly and to think about our intention, our motivation. In other words, to clearly formulate motivation in our mind, to fully mobilize our intention. And when we do this, we use the term kunhong in Tibetan, samutana in Sanskrit. We clearly formulate our intention. For example, before listening to the teachings, I consider the Buddha's teaching as medicine, oneself as someone who is ill and wanting to heal through these teachings. I want to listen and understand this teaching, not through desire or hostility or because I'm gone astray, but really to benefit from these, so that I may sincerely benefit from these teachings, and in the context of the Great Vehicle, that through this understanding, may I truly be able to help other beings, other sentient beings. So it's inspired by loving kindness and compassion. So concretely, when we come to listen to a teaching, a lot of things we can be motivated by many things. Maybe we can be motivated by distraction, because I've got nothing else to do. I just want to... Or I can be motivated by desire. I wish to acquire information that I will be able to turn into like a capital, because I need to earn some money, and I'll see how I can exploit that, tap that. That's kind of what we would call a desire. Or I could come, I'm going to listen to see how I can criticize it better. So that's kind of marked by hostility, driven by hostility. So there's a whole variety of motivations that are driven by afflictions, by pride, jealousy, hostility. So here, so that all our activity is not stained by this kind of attitude, and our efforts will have beneficial fruits, it's important to formulate clearly one's motivation. That's kunhong. So every time we are together, we recite things in Tibetan. Maybe you don't know what you're saying. It is the refuge linked to the generation of bodhicitta. This is when we formulate our motivation. The right motivation, the correct motivation, is the one that is driven, imbued with loving kindness, with respect, reverence towards the teaching, as being something truly precious and beneficial, which I wish to understand and benefit from and be able to help others with. And when we have this approach, we will listen to the teachings in a way that is not distorted, and we will be able to draw benefit from them. Because this is here we see the importance of motivation in general. Everything we undertake is oriented or through motivation. Of course, what is taught is Dharma. The environment where we are is a place of practice and study of the Buddha's teaching, etc. All the favorable circumstances are brought together, But maybe we won't draw benefit from all these circumstances because of one's motivation. Because we are closed, we are hostile, we are completely obsessed with one's desire and other projects, one's pride. So we don't hear words in the same way. We don't understand the words in the same way. We don't take them in the same way. When it's like when someone who is hostile and you say to them, "Oh, you have a nice shirt," they'll take it as an insult. What do you mean by that? That I can't buy a shirt for myself? So it's the disposition of our thoughts that influence our action, our attitude. So in a hostile attitude, everything is interpreted negatively. When we are in an attitude of acceptance, even negative circumstances that are harmful become sources of joy. It's really important on a daily basis. There are circumstances that are tough and difficult, illness, many things that are difficult and tough. And often our way of seeing the situations make it more difficult. But we can't accept it. It shouldn't be this way. I'm better than that. The I must be. It's the imperative, the I, that must be happy, better than others. We have difficulty accepting, of facing situations that makes circumstantial situations inevitable, unbearable. They become unbearable. And when we see them differently, when we accept the situation, maybe we can even see something beneficial. And according to one's, the opening of our mind, opening here means not having too many presuppositions or assumptions and being too attached to them, allows us maybe to find, even in a situation that is harmful, something beneficial. For example, for an aspiring bodhisattva who wishes to practice generosity, when he or she is abused, or abused in the sense, if someone steals something from them, they should not be unhappy. They might think, I've made the wish to help all beings. What they've taken from me, I've always wished for it, and today they've taken away from me the wish to give it to them. So it becomes an occasion to increase our merit, to develop qualities, these adverse circumstances. Enable us to develop our merit. So there's many other terms. I'm not going to get into this. So let's look at the term pranidhana, munlam, which is the main term. So it's been translated as aspiration prayer. So we can be led into error is to think of thinking about the term prayer as a petition, a request, addressed to a superior kind of force, so that it be given to us. Often when we think of prayer, and this is what we understand, because this term is used in a theistic context of a divinity, of a higher being, a powerful being, and we address our prayers. May I heal from my illness. May this person get better. And so we often imagine something similar, not addressed to a god here, but to the bodhisattva. And it's true that in practice we often do this. It's difficult not to. We do it spontaneously. We wish for certain things, and we address ourselves to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's not the meaning here of pranidhana. As I was saying earlier, it is more in relation to formulating a wish. Earlier I spoke about ethical discipline. One aspect of ethical discipline was to turn away from negative conduct. Another aspect of ethical discipline was to orient oneself towards the qualities. And here, the qualities towards which we turn ourselves are the qualities of the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, the activity that is perfectly good and beneficial, prada, charya, bhadracharya, zangpochupa. So by excellence, we could say the conduct that is effectively beneficial to others and oneself, the activity of the bodhisattvas. And it is to formulate the wish and to orient oneself in the accomplishment of this activity. So we could say that it has an architecture that we see in the three times, the past, the present, and the future. These wishes that were formulated in the past lead to the accomplishment of these wishes. We can take the example of the bodhisattva, Dharmakara, who became Amitabha Buddha. He formulated a certain number of wishes, of Munlam in particular here, aspiration prayers, if we're going to stay literal in the translation proposed here, pranidhana. And these wishes, once accomplished, led him to become Amitabha Buddha. The activity of Amitabha Buddha, the manifestation of the pure land of Sakhavati, is the result of this wish. And we know that as a bodhisattva, he was turned towards the accomplishment of these wishes. He was oriented towards this. If we look at the architecture of time, these are the wishes made in the past that led Buddha Amitabha to become Buddha Amitabha. Dharmakara became, the bodhisattva Dharmakara became Amitabha, Buddha Amitabha. In the present, the wishes are, at the very moment these wishes are formulated, they have a lot of strength. They have the power to change our orientation. If we really formulate these wishes, all our disposition of mind changes. It is a calm causality in terms of our thoughts and becoming. There is a transformation that takes place. And these wishes I'm not sure if the term is adequate, become the guiding thread from life to life. They become a force in this life and in our future lives, right up until the fruit of the accomplishment, the fulfillment of these wishes. And if we come back to the architecture of time, these wishes in the future is to realize each of these wishes, to really manifest them exactly as they were formulated. And so we see in this practice of aspiration today, because of our confidence in the three jewels, the teaching of the Buddha, our understanding, because of the fact that we generate today motivation of a bodhisattva, that is, we generate bodhicitta, an aspiration and application. That is, all the practice of the bodhisattvas is manifest in these wishes. So the practice of the bodhisattvas is concretely, effectively, is to do what? It is to fulfill these wishes. That is what I was saying with regarding to ethical conduct. It is towards in what direction we orient ourselves. Are there any questions on this? Time is passing. So these wishes become an active force in the present, transform our dispositions, eliminate our negative karma, create positive disposition that are very strong in us. Completely transform our disposition, our karma, and in the future orient us towards a certain fulfillment of these wishes. And so long as these wishes aren't fulfilled, we, having formulated these wishes and to never turn away from them, creates a force that accompanies us through all our future lives, right up to the fulfillment of these wishes. So it's in this, it's a very important aspect of the practice of bodhisattvas. So these aspirations are typically formulated at the end of every practice, of every virtuous activity. in a way to orient the virtue, orient the positive, everything positive that we've accomplished, whether it's the meditation that we did, the study of the Dharma that we've done, the wishes of the bodhisattva, the bodhisattva vows or engagements that we've taken, what I've given. I've done this to accomplish, to fulfill these wishes that are presented here. Okay, we'll take a break now.
Jibe sunam chendrola penjira sanje drobar sho sanje chodan soje chonam la chanchu pardo dane chamsu che yenso jibe sunam chendrola penjira Sanje drobar sho sanje chodan soje chonam la chanchu pardo dane chamsu che dage jinso jibe sunam che rolai penchira sanje drobar sho semche tamche Dewa tan dewe jo tan dembar churche Dongara tan dongara che jo tan travar churche Dongara mebe dewa tamba tan mendravar churche Nyerin chadan tan charbe tan nyom chambola nebar churche
So we're looking at into the title. We looked at the meaning of pranidhana. Here, the practice is to announce the practice. We recite the practice. The text here is a support for recitation. We clearly announce the vows. We formulate the vows in our mind. We formulate the vows in our mind by verbally announcing, as I said earlier, that by these vows, through these vows, we will create the disposition, the force that will accompany us from life to life. So it's not a kind of prayer and like a petition announced to like a superior force, but the formulation and the vow, the promise, the commitment is made in the presence, in front of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So there is a commitment of a promise, of a wish, a vow that we make in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that also encompasses all sentient beings. It is a promise that we make to all sentient beings. That is the more appropriate definition of wishes or vow. Raja means king. That among all the vows, among all the wishes, or among all the aspirations, it is the excellent vows, and you have the term Arya. Generally, Arya designates wisdom, discernment, the one who cultivates discernment. So these wishes are not made without discernment. They have to be accompanied by wisdom and with discernment. And by discernment, I see it as a synonym. It is a synonym of the wisdom to see the reality of emptiness, the reality of the phenomena and of mind. And then we have a homage made by the translators. When this text was translated in order to carry to its term the translation, this follows an Indian tradition, before the tradition in India. One would express one's reverence to those who one admired. So if one was non-Buddhist, to gods, divinities, masters, and for Buddhists, it is reverence towards the three jewels. And in accordance with this tradition, if you read other Indian texts, it is like a convention. You always see at the beginning of these texts a kind of a homage, whether it's a grammar text or any text. You always find a homage, and so the translators borrowed this convention and took and added a homage at the beginning of the translation. And this translation and this reverence was codified by the translators, both to show readers the kind of reverence or homage to what category of Buddhist literature this text belongs. And more importantly, to inspire the reader to feel reverence towards the same object. And for the translator himself, it is like an auspicious act. In order to successfully complete his work. So these are the various reasons. So Pakpa Jampal Shunur Gyurpala Chatselo. The homage is made to Manjushri. Manjushri, the noble youth. Maybe it might sound a little strange. You might imagine him with pimples. In French, the term is juvenile. So in English here, it's translated as noble youth. So, who is the object of reverence, of homage? It is the great bodhisattva Manjushri. And Manjushri, generally speaking, is personified or represents discernment, wisdom of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And so even his name, Manjushri, the Sanskrit term would be for noble youth, Kumara. Manju, Jam in Tibetan, means gentleness, the peaceful aspect. And Shri is the glorious aspect, the resplendent aspect. And noble youth makes reference to what is like the original, like it is the original qualities of mind, free from all confusion. It is not to designate a physical character, of course. When the Bodhisattva Manjushri is described, or sculpted or painted or statues, in the context of Vajrayana Buddhism, he is often represented as the statue in front of me. He is shown as a young gentleman, somebody young. But here, the meaning of Kumara is what is original, the qualities. It is the actualization, the manifestation of the original qualities of mind, free from all confusion. It is like the sun that dissipates all darkness, all confusion, all errors, all afflictions. It is free from all this. The mind is free from all this. So here the translator bows, Chatsel, bows. Namo in Sanskrit. So the way we bow is not out of fear vis-a-vis a kind of superior force or by duty, as if it was a kind of obligation that we might have in a relationship between lord and vassal. It is, as we saw earlier, Dipa, Shraddha, in terms of confidence and admiration of his qualities, so that the qualities of Manjushri, as we admire him, as we feel respect and reverence for him, we invite these qualities in us, so that we ourselves may actualize these qualities and become like Manjushri. That our mind thereby manifests these original qualities. That is how this should be understood. Then we come back to the text itself that begins. It is divided into two major parts. I'm just going back a little because there are some new people here. And I would like to ensure that we review briefly what we saw in detail, but I will try to go through it quickly. The first part of the text I'm not sure we all have the same translation. Asked Rinpoche. Rinpoche is referring to the text that he is using. I am using the Shama Rinpoche's text on the King of Prayers and one published by Sri Diwakar. In any case, it's the same meaning. So that obliges us not to become too attached to words and to go beyond words and try to understand the meaning. So we have 7 successive practices in the initial part of the text, which are practices that are done in order to create in ourselves, in our mind stream, dispositions that are favorable. We could call them meritorious. And it is this meritorious force that will be the foundation for the fulfillment of the wishes. So it is because at the base there is the merit produced that we are effectively in a position to authentically formulate these wishes. And once these wishes are formulated, to apply oneself to them and bring them to their fruit, to their ultimate fruit. So there are 7 practices. The first is reverence, paying homage. It is, as I just explained, with regards to reverence, respect towards Manjushri. So the first stanza, the first 2 stanzas, the first 2 shlokas, Rinpoche just read in Tibetan, present the practice. So mentally, physically, verbally, verbally and mentally, we can express our respect towards all the Buddhas in all of the worlds and all 10 directions reside the Tathagatas of past, present, and future. Before each and every one of these lions among men, I bow down joyfully with body, speech, and mind. This is just a discussion on the text with the French. So Rinpoche is reading another version in the French. By the power of wishes of excellent conduct, each Buddha evoked becomes manifest. With as many bodies as atoms in the universe, I bow down deeply to the victorious ones. That's stanza 2. So implicitly in this practice, there's a certain understanding already of the meaning of emptiness, which is the fact that phenomena have no substantiality. To see that all phenomena are nothing else than appearance, void of any substantiality. So, on the one hand, the fact that there is confusion, the grasping of self-clinging, all the illusions that appear, that we grasp, the situation in which we are, in which all sentient beings are, and on the other hand, we have the object towards which we feel great reverence. And what is this object that inspires reverence, confidence? We spoke about Depa, Shraddha this morning. It is, of course, enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It is free. It is what is free of all confusion, of all straying. And we are in confusion. We are in self-clinging. We turn ourselves towards what is free of all confusion, which is free of all straying. It is enlightenment. So it is not a relationship between a creating Lord and subjects that would be dependent. It is not a relationship of otherness. It is like a mirror in which like a mirror that reflect our potential. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are like a mirror that reflect our potential of everything that we can develop. So here when we express our reverence and we bow and we express our respect, what are we doing? We renounce to ego. What prevents us from bowing and inclining ourselves, accepting our original qualities? It is the attachment to the I, the grasping of the I, and this includes the idea that I is better, superior. I am better, I am more important. If there is something that is good, it should be for me. And we saw that this I is a pure fiction, like a monster in a cupboard that doesn't exist. And we can look at all the elements of the psychophysical elements by which we are constituted. We can't find any equivalent to the idea of I that is irreducible and permanent. So it is pure illusion, pure fiction. And so maybe we haven't succeeded in doing away with this fiction, but we have recognized this fiction for being a fiction. But by the force, the habit of having cultivated it for so long, it remains manifest. Just by a simple decision, we can't do away with it. So by making the effort to turn ourselves towards what is free from this string, which is our potential, our natural, original reality that has always been free of this fiction. This fiction is adventitious. It is something that we have added. It is like a sweetening, maybe like a sweetener, a bias. Maybe there are other synonyms. They don't come to me right now, but all these distortions don't have an existence in and of themselves. So realizing this, expressing this, leads us to turn away from this ego. We bow, we pay respect, we pay homage, we show our humility, our respect. Not respect towards another fiction, but respect towards reality that is manifested by the three jewels, the Buddha, their disciples, their understanding, their realization. These qualities are in our own potential. We bow in front of them so that their qualities become manifest in us. It's like something that we have to acquire, that they have to give to us. They are qualities that are innate, that are naturally present in us, and that we must recognize and be able to actualize. And the method for this is this act of reverence, of paying homage, of respect. So not only implicitly we understand this point when we pay homage, but we also understand that everything that we grasp today is inner, outer, internal, external, single, multiple, are an artifice. The one, the multiple, cannot be discerned, cannot be found substantively. So here the Buddhas, this text is the translation of a kind of poem. It's written in Sanskrit in a beautiful way, metered. The stanzas are metered, and the Tibetan does the same. The French or the English translation do not reflect this aspect of the text. So, of course, being a text that has been embellished, there are many comparisons and metaphors that are used in the text. And so without taking it literally, here the Buddhas are compared with lions. Among humans, Buddhas are lions. It's like among animals, lions are is the predator who doesn't have a predator. We don't look at it in terms of being a predator, but it's more in the absence of all fear, that is completely free of all fear. The lion is never afraid of being attacked. He can just sleep peacefully. Probably all other animals are afraid of him. So the enlightened one, or the enlightened ones, are free of all afflictions and all the fears associated with that. So there are other meanings that are linked to this. So we don't only address the Buddhas of past and present, but also the Buddhas of the future. Here it is Sugata or Paragata, that are other epithets for describing the Buddhas that reached suchness, true felicity, that are free from all confusion. This is what the enlightened ones present. So wherever the enlightened ones are, in time or space, our reverence is towards enlightenment in all its manifestations, in the three times and in all directions. Here we see that time is like a fiction, past, present, and future. Future and past, we know that they don't exist, but we think the present exists. But even the present, if we really have to search for its substantiality, we cannot examine it. So here we enter a temporal dimension beyond time, but beyond space as well. For now, space is defined. There is what is big, what is small, what is close, what is far. And we imagine a certain substantiality. And this is how phenomena appear to us. But these appearances of time and space, if we really look for the substantiality, the being in and of itself, an autonomous, independent substantiality, we cannot grasp it, we cannot find it. So in this sense, there is no the close, the far, the great, the small cannot be inherently found. And so that is what is expressed before the Buddhas of the three times. I bow down joyfully, verbally, physically, and mentally. I bow. The three forms of reverence. They are also called the three doors by my mind, by seeing the qualities, by words, by paying tribute to these qualities, but physically by emulating these qualities, by expressing one's respect, so one bows. The next stanza by the power of my wishes, of aspiration, by my wish to have generated bodhicitta, the wish that I make to accomplish the benefit of beings, and in this way enlightenment, in this finality, in this aim, enlightenment, I imagine here as beginners, it is difficult for me to actually access, but I access it by thought, by imagination. All Buddhas appear to my mind, and I envisage them in the following way. They are an undefinable infinite number in all 10 directions. And I think I multiply to the in an infinite manner and pay homage to each one of them. And so then is the practice of offering. the third verse, third stanza or shloka. It says the offering. I'm going through this quickly. Duchik Tengna. Atop one particle, as many Buddhas as particles are settled amidst bodhisattvas, their spiritual heirs. Thus, Dharmadhatu, the entire sphere of being, abounds with the Buddhas that I have envisioned. Our universe encompasses how many atoms? What do you think? Even in this glass that I have, there are many. Regardless of what is probably the infinite number, it's very difficult to have a real number. There are as many atoms as there are in this universe. We think that in every single one there are as many atoms as there are as many Buddhas as atoms in the universe. So that's a lot. So here we you multiply to spread conduct and activity. If there's an immense merit in terms of bowing in front of one Buddha, and if I bow in front of two Buddhas, then this merit is multiplied by 2. But if I go towards an infinity of Buddhas, this merit is multiplied by this number of this immense number. So it is to bring this practice to its excellence, to its excellence, not here we are looking at we are looking at it in terms of quantity, but this number and this quantity also leads us to envisage the ultimate, what is beyond all conception. And so in this reverence, we try to bring this reverence to its excellence. That is to fulfill the practice, prostrations through excellence. What does this mean? It is to understand the quality towards which we are expressing this reverence, but also to express these qualities in oneself. The essential quality is wisdom. Wisdom is beyond all discrimination, between all dualistic grasping, etc. Beyond all numbers. We grasp numbers, figures, and we take these figures and go to the limit of the possible. And that is reality. Numbers are artifice of mind, a fiction. But numbers don't grasp reality, dharmadhatu, ultimate reality. So in this manner, I imagine we could say, I can't actually see them, but I imagine by an act of thought that each atom or each particle of this universe, where there is an infinity of particles or atoms, and each one of them there is an infinity of other worlds. And in these diverse worlds, there are Buddhas surrounded by their disciples, etc. The distinction between the small and the large implodes, self-implodes, disappears. Substantially, there is something big, substantively speaking. There is something big and small. The infinitesimally small, how can it contain the infinitely large? It seems impossible. Why? Because we think that the infinitesimally small really exists, and so does the infinitesimally large. And if this was the case, the substantively large could never go into the substantively small. So we have to be able to establish what is substantively small and large. If we're looking for the substantively big or large, what we call big is nothing else than independence of what we have designated as small. The big can also be small vis-a-vis something that's larger or bigger. So we see here that large and small are not autonomous realities that are in and of themselves independent of other something else that's large or small. They don't have any substantiality or they don't have their own reality. They are in relationship. It is a designation in relation to one and the other. So in and of themselves, we don't find big and small or large and small. So it's beyond our conception of this codependent relationship. In and of itself, big and small aren't established. And that's why in the infinitesimally small, the infinitesimally large can be present in reality. It's a little difficult. We're so attached to our concepts. If I say this to kids, they won't fight to know who is the tallest. Okay, so I'm going to leave some time for questions. I'm talking, and I'm not leaving you time for questions. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rinpoche. A practical question. What advice would you give me to start the Sutra and Vajrayana practice, knowing that I don't understand Tibetan and Sanskrit? Should I look at it? Should I approach it first in French, and with what translation? And when I go and if I practice it regularly on a daily basis, should I do it in Tibetan phonetics? So when we practice together, says Rinpoche, people speaking different languages from different cultures, they all gather. And given that there's a set version in Tibetan, we recite it in Tibetan. For one's personal practice, I advise to recite in one's language and the translation that has the most meaning for oneself. And so to integrate it into our daily basis, it has to be integrated in the practice of bodhisattvas, the bodhisattva commitments. It is important to renew them every day. It doesn't take long, but to keep in mind the commitment of the bodhisattva, the vows of the bodhisattva. And in this context, carry out this practice. And here you can carry out the practice in French, in the translation that you feel is the most beautiful. But as we've done here, I've tried to explain the meaning of words, of the context, how to understand. I came back, I spent quite a bit of time on fundamentals because I think it is more important to try and understand the meaning of the practice rather than go through the words of the text quickly. What's most important is to know how to practice. We study Dharma, we try to familiarize ourselves with the teaching and know how to put this into practice. In one's mind, we have to formulate these wishes, and then for that we have to understand them. And then what we say is, what we recite is what there's a foundation to our practice then when we recite. What's not clear for me on the one hand, I feel the départ, and on the other hand, what is my place in vis-a-vis suffering? It's not the suffering that we see that others are experiencing, but the suffering that I've inflicted in this life or towards others since the beginningless times. This suffering and the wishes, we are in a certain state of mind for these wishes. For the well-being, directed towards wisdom, but everything that represents the Buddha for me, or the Buddhas. But what to do with the impregnation of the suffering that I have provoked, that I feel that I have provoked. So maybe says Rinpoche, I've explained in a too limited a way, but what we have to see here is that all these problems through the practices, we're going to surmount all the problems that you've evoked. They're not just nice little wishes, vows, quote unquote, romantic, in the sense of the Buddhist sense. There are preparatory practices. The practice in 7 parts at the beginning are very important. First, there is the orientation, the 7 branches, 7 parts. The first is paying homage. all these practices respond to what, or an answer to what prevents us from actualizing enlightenment and to accomplish, to fulfill these wishes. So we could look at things differently. Why am I not enlightened yet? Why am I here and I'm not a Buddha? What? The Buddhas of the past came, but why am I not enlightened yet? The first problem is that I have not discerned what is really my benefit. I've grasped all sorts of things as being my salvation, but were actually not. External things, all these fictions, I have not observed the original reality of my mind and of reality. So the paying homage, the reverence is implicitly implies the fact that we have discerned reality, or we've had a glimpse or confidence in terms of what reality is. And when we have this, or turning our mind towards this, orienting ourselves towards this, is to give. That is paying homage. That is the reverence. Is to give oneself fully. Is to give the I away, if you wish, that we cherish so much. We just let go of the I before reality. All the negative things that we've done accumulated up till now, we have why did we accomplish them? It's from attachment to I, from the interest of the I at the expense of the other. And so long as this attitude is there, there is no reason for it not to continue. If today I am kind of appeased, it's possible that at some point in circumstances that will appear to be difficult, I will make the choice of the I at the expense of the other. And I will deliberately look to harm the other. And all that because of the attachment to our being kind of completely taken by this, in the grips of this confusion. So the first is to discern, to recognize. It implies the confidence, the shraddha that we talked about, to express it, depa that we talked about. Second obstacle, or why am I not enlightened yet? What's the second obstacle? Not only have I not seen or observed or caught a glimpse of, had a certain level of awareness in terms of reality, on top of that, I've been attached to myself, but to what belongs to me, to my possessions, to what is mine. So on a daily basis, I'm focused on the I and on what it belongs to me, for what is for me. I am always to have, to be, and to have. To be is I am, and to have is for me. I want it. I want this I, this being that is me, have everything that he or she needs. And everything that I've done before this morning, I spoke about cetana, the volitional aspect in our ordinary confusion. Every instant of consciousness, every moment of consciousness in the confusion, there is this volitional aspect that creates karma. It is for me. And this for me is to have. When it's something positive, when it's something negative, to try to reject it. So that's our perspective, our common perspective, our habitual perspective. So the pursuit of having has constantly preoccupied us. And so we have not been able to give one's time, one's resources, to put one's resources and one's time at the service of reality, at the service of what frees us from confusion. All our time, all our efforts, all our resources, we have put it at the service of fiction. We never stop reinforcing this fiction, this suffering. And to respond to this problem, there is the practice of the offering, the second part, the second branch. It's not that Buddha wants us to pay taxes, and that the Buddhists don't know how to manage don't know how to manage their resources. It's not about that. It's to help us to do away with this preoccupation, to undo it, to devote our time and our resources to enlightenment. That's the practice of offering. And here it's expressed as an activity that we know, to give. Like to give when it's towards something that we admire, we use the term offering. It's not it's like sometimes the term donation might be used, that we give to an equal. Here are we giving it. Here we're making the word offering is used. It is, we are giving to excellence. They are represented by the three jewels. And what are we giving? Absolutely everything. And first and foremost, one's person. Not just for one moment, but perpetually, always. And so by giving by giving oneself to these qualities, my person does not belong to this fiction that belongs to the I. They belong to my original reality, enlightenment, represented by the external Buddhas. But having given myself in this way to the Buddhas, it doesn't belong to me anymore to act according to the imperative of the I, and to be that is to be selfish, to hurt others, etc. Because now I don't belong to myself anymore. I belong to the Buddha. And what defines the Buddha? It is universal generosity, compassion, loving kindness, being beneficial to all sentient beings. So I must act according to the orders of my master. I am a slave of the Buddhas. I don't belong to the I belong to the Buddhas. And what do the Buddhas do? I should do the same. And it is to do what corresponds to my original reality and what is fundamentally good for myself and for others. So for this, I don't need somebody who rewards me. The giving is in the act itself. It is the award. It is the reward. So the practice of the offering, and more closely linked to your question, is the next practice. The confession, the repentance. There are different words used. As I was saying earlier, why am I not enlightened yet? Because I didn't do what I should have done. That is, recognize reality and devote myself to it. And somehow I've corrected that through the first two practices, the first two branches. And not having done what I should have done, I did what I shouldn't have done. I constantly cultivated desire, hatred. I hurt other beings. I hurt others. I carried out so many negative activities. So the impregnation, the dispositions, the impulses are present in my mind stream, and I must eliminate them. And this third practice is about that. And how do we eliminate them? We eliminate them by recognizing how harmful they are. As long as we think there's something good, that I did something right, I'll never be able to turn away from them. So from the moment I see that it's fundamentally negative and that I should turn away from it, we feel remorse. So there are 4 forces that are implicit in this practice. The first, the force of remorse, regret. See the hatred that I've cultivated, the violent act that I've committed. They, by nature, they've been harmful. I see this. It's like I've just drank a cup of poison. This is the regret I feel towards all the negative acts I've committed. And that regret is an enormous strength, because you turn away from negative activity. It's like the strength of power of activity can no longer find a grip on our mind stream, because we don't follow it, we don't accept it anymore. So it has no grip on us. And that's how we turn away from them. And then it's a new orientation. Not only we turn away from its contrary. We recognize the quality of the 3 jewels, bodhisattvas. We give ourselves to them. We turn towards them, and we ask that their qualities express themselves in us. And the next power is to remedy this. Now we've recognized the negative dispositions in our mind stream. We must discern what are the remedies and apply oneself to the remedies. Each time hatred arises, we cultivate thoughts that will lead to loving kindness, and we apply the antidote. And the last one, the most important, is the commitment. Not only do we turn away, but never will I commit these negative acts again. And in this way, we can turn away from them. So that kind of answers your question, I think. I thank you for your attention, and we see you later.